It's your man Alex, and in this video I'm going to be showing you guys my take on a mid taper fade self haircut. So let's get right into it. Now to get started, I'm using my Babyliss trimmers and I'm putting in the first guideline, creating not necessarily a rainbow shape, but just going up a tiny bit around my temples, slightly curving it, because with that taper fade it's going to have somewhat of a rainbow like shape. And you want to make sure that you keep the first guideline just below the ear, because if you take it up too high, you're going to be left with a really high taper fade. So keep it relatively low, just around the height of the top of your ear, and then move forward with the next step. So now I'm going in with my Babyliss shavers, and I'm just balding out that bottom part of the head. Now for the second guideline, I'm going to be using my Babyliss clippers with the lever in the open position and no guard, and I'm just going to be going up about ½ inch, still following that same curved like shape from the first guideline. KOVRAS Productions. So again, because this is a taper fade, a lot of the times our hair doesn't grow that dense on the sides of our head, so it becomes very easy to fade when you're going around your temples, right? But when you get toward the back of your head, as you probably have noticed before, your hair is really dense toward the back of your head, but on the sides it's really light, it's not very dense. So it's a lot easier to fade on the sides of your head than it is the back. So that's why you're going in now with the lever halfway, then closing it, and now I'm using the trimmers. So it's like a 3-step process to remove that hard line. But again, because it's on the sides of your head by your temple, it's a lot easier to fade in. Now for the third guideline, I'm using the number 1 guard lever open, and again I'm still going up ½ inch for this guideline, but also I want you to notice how I'm not digging straight up into my scalp. I'm kind of doing a flick out motion as I'm going up that ½ inch, which is going to help later on throughout the self haircut, so I don't put in any unnecessary hard lines. Now still using the number 1 guard, go ahead and close the lever and then flick out that bottom hard line. Now using the 1.5 guard lever open, I'm going up to create another ½ inch guideline, but here notice how I'm trying to blend into the longer length on these sides by my part line. Notice how it's like 1 inch of hair by my part line right there, so I'm kind of flicking out as I'm going up that ½ inch. So now moving on to the back of my head, we finished with the sides. Now we're going to do the same exact thing on the back of our head. However, the first step, because there's so much bulk, because I was growing out a mullet for, I don't even know, 4, 5, 6 months, there's so much hair that I need to cut off. So I'm really just freehanding, cutting it all off using the number 2 guard, going straight up, but also flicking away from my head using a freehand motion, because of course I want to keep some of that long hair by my crown. And so I'm just going in, debulking everything, which of course makes it easier when I'm going in to fade the same way I did on the sides of my head. Like I just mentioned, I'm following the same exact steps that I did for the sides of my head and transferring it over to the back of my head. Now, this is probably going to be the hardest part. I always tell my students that giving yourself a taper fade is probably one of the hardest self haircuts, only because it's so detailed toward the bottom half of the back of your head, because it's hard to reach, right? It's hard to bend your arms and your hands and put it into an area where you can detail in such a small area on the back of your head. So I always say taper fades are one of the hardest self haircuts to give yourself. It seems very easy because not a lot of hair is actually being cut, but just because of that little nuance, being that it's on the bottom half of the back of your head, it is going to be more challenging. So with that being said, I'm telling you, if you right now do not have the proper mirror setup, you're not going to be able to do this self haircut. So what I need you guys to do is either click the link in the description or head over to your nearest Walmart or Target and purchase the $7 mirror that I'm looking at right now on screen. It's literally a 1 foot by 4 foot mirror. It's $7. And I'm telling you, if you angle it 45 degrees on top of your vanity, you will see the entire back of your head. You will see to the moon. You'll see everything. And then throw in some 5000K LED light bulbs. You won't have a single issue seeing everything. You'll see everything so easily. And to add to that, you'll have so much room for your arm. Look at my left arm. Look how far I'm stretching it out. And my right arm, there's so much room for me to maneuver my body, my arms, and my hands. So this mirror setup is the most game-changing mirror setup. Speaking of that, I also made a video about the different mirror setups for self haircuts. I'll leave that in the card section above if you guys want to check it out. A really good tip I think you guys should know when you're cutting your own hair, especially toward the back of your head, is notice how I'm holding the clippers. Notice how I'm holding it kind of like a pencil, because I'm also holding it where my fingers are really close to the blades. This allows me to have full control over the clipper. It gives me a little bit more leverage as well, right? Notice here, one, I have my left hand stretching out the skin, and I have my right hand holding the clippers with my fingers as close to the cutting blades as possible. This gives me the absolute utmost leverage, control, and precision while holding the clippers in my hands. So if you feel like you're struggling in any way with cutting the back of your head, try holding the clippers using this technique. Another tip I think might help you, especially if you're a beginner at cutting your own hair, and it's something that I wish I might have done sooner in my self-haircut journey, was you notice how the clipper guards are in sequential order when they sell it to you. So it goes half guard, 1.5 guard, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guard. If you literally just go in sequential order for the entire self haircut, going half, 1, 1.5, 2, 3, 4, there's a really good chance about 80% of the haircut that you're trying to achieve will be achieved by just going in order with the guards. So there's like an 80% chance of a success rate for that self haircut if you just do those things. Then if you make each guideline about 3/4 of an inch to 1 full inch, definitely like 80-85% success rate for whatever haircut you're going for. This is always the most amazing part of the self haircut, when I finally get to use my thinning shears over comb technique. This is honestly the best thing for self haircuts. Thinning shears are the best tool, hands down, at blending any hard line that you see throughout your haircut. Whether you use the reverse thinning shear method, which you'll probably see shortly, or the thinning shear over comb method to blend in the fade on the sides and back to that longer length on the top of your head. Thinning shear over comb, thinning shears as a tool, they're super cheap. Get yourself a nice cheap stainless steel pair off of Amazon for like $10. You can get a kit for $15 to $20. And I'm telling you, this right here is going to be game changing. Your self haircuts will look so much better once you learn how to master thinning shears. The next step is giving yourself a clean, crispy, fresh lineup. Now I like to use scissors for my forehead because it feels a little bit more safe. I also like to have a headband just in case, especially when I have longer hair. Otherwise, you don't really need a headband unless you have longer hair. And then when I get toward the sides by the vertical bars around the C cup, I definitely like to use my trimmers because it just goes by a lot faster. And if your trimmers have a T blade, which means that the blade is shaped like the capital letter T, like the trimmers that I have right here, the lines always come out super crispy. And it's not just because my trimmers are really expensive. I know you were thinking that. I have T-blade trimmers from Glaker. They were about $15. I've been using them for the longest time now, and they're still just as crispy as these $200 Babyliss trimmers. So get yourself some trimmers with a T-blade and always give yourself a fresh lineup when you're done the actual fade. This is my take on a mid-taper fade self-haircut. Did I do a good job? Let me know in the comment section below. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a new upload. And if you're ready to take your self-haircut game to the next level, check out the links in the description below.